Hey everybody, welcome to Aniki, the podcast about anime with two brothers. I'm Ben.
And I've given up magic.
What?
No, I've not. Well, yeah, I have. I've given it up for MetaZoo.
I don't know what MetaZoo is. Enlighten
I'm going to
me.
be doing it's all MetaZoo all the time. You know, it's MetaZoo. It's like Zoo, but meta. MetaZoo. It's the hot new card game that everybody loves.
Is there a dodo in it? And have you collected it?
Is there a dodo in it? You know, there's not. No, it's
That's good. That'll keep you from going on a homicidal rage.
It's MetaZoo. It's a very real game that exists.
Uh-huh.
It's very legitimate. It's not at all a scam.
Definitely looks like, yeah.
Oh, yeah, the art's just gorgeous, to be frank. It's like if Pokemon and Magic had a baby and all the cards were uncards, because it's like so meta. That's where the meta in MetaZoo comes from. Like some cards are better when it's raining because they're like water types, so it just makes sense. Some cards you can't cast, contract unless you don't wear pants. So it's a very real game that's not all a shitpost disguised as a game, though it might be a game disguised as a shitpost. It's hard to tell. No one knows how real it is, but everybody wants it, and the cards are really expensive. It's filled with crazy vocabulary for no reason. Your deck is your spell book. Okay, so that's not that crazy. Your hand is called your chapter, because it's a chapter of your spell book.
Uh-huh.
All the cards are not cards, they're pages, obviously. You bookmark them into your chapter from your spell book, because it's got a special vocabulary word for drawing cards, because it needs one of those. And then you contract them out into the arena.
Oh, good.
You contract your pages into your arena. And you attack your opponent with your beasties, because that's a real cool name for them. Yeah, it's really real. It's very, very real and legitimate, and a very real card game.
There was some card game that seems like this. It was like, it's not Guardians of the Galaxy, but it was in that vein. What was that called?
Vanguard?
No, it was some card game that came out like 2013-ish, and all the cards were hand-drawn by random people.
I have no
and
idea.
It was all superheroes and something.
That's not a trading card game. I'm not a huge fan of that game. I know that game.
I hated that game.
It has lots of actual fans. I don't personally like it. I think it's actually not. I think it's kind of poorly designed.
I knew several people that just gushed about it.
I know, right? I knew a couple too. Superhero card game.
Yeah.
I know of it as well. Sentinels of the Multiverse.
That's
the name of it.
That's
There's a lot of people who really love it. I don't. I think it's kind of bad. The action economy in it is very poor. Like you're only allowed to do like 1 or 2 cards a turn, and you draw at the end of your turn. And everybody else's turn is really long. So basically you sit there for an entire turn cycle looking at the same cards. It comes to your turn, you play 1 or 2 of them. Everything then goes wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And then you don't even have the excitement on your turn of drawing new cards because you draw at the end of your turn.
Exactly.
Which I think is just a fundamental mistake, because it doesn't make me excited to take my turn because I already know what I'm going to do and I just have to wait forever to do it.
That's my problem with Euro games, honestly.
Some people really, 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 really like Sentinels of the Multiverse, and more power to them, but it is not for me.
It's for someone somewhere.
I think its design is not top notch, but they've made a whole lot of it and people really like it, but okay. Of course, people also love MetaZoo, but that's understandable because, I mean,
that art is something else.
Look, it's so real that
it's going to become real.
Well, it's such a real game that if you go to their thing and find the rule book, it links to a Google Doc.
I saw that.
Yeah, a Google document. It's where it gets posted to.
Well, have you done anything else since the last time we spoke besides find this gem?
No, just get so into MetaZoo. I've played Humankind.
Oh, did he? He got thrown off a big metal cage at Hell in a Cell, didn't he?
I have no idea who you're talking about.
Mankind?
No, this is Humankind. Very different.
Oh, okay.
This is a 4X game by the guys who did Endless Space and Endless Legend. It's a historical 4X.
Well, have you watched or read or done anything
anime related?
Yeah,
I haven't had time for anime. I've been too busy. I've been too busy dealing with MetaZoo.
I would love to say that I was different and I've watched all the things. I have not.
But you too got hopped up on MetaZoo. I mean, it's very understandable.
No, what did I get hopped up on? What have I done the last 2 weeks? I don't even know.
Nothing. not MetaZoo, which means it was time wasted.
I mean, I've kept up on the shows that we're watching. The Dragon Show continues to just be
large breasts.
Yes, constantly.
The largest of breasts.
Mm-hmm. It does lampshade it a little bit, which is fine, I guess. But there's a lot of Shota jokes. There's a lot of Shota jokes. It's kind of creepy.
Can you lampshade something that big?
I guess at that point, it's more like a softbox, I think. That's all I got. And I have no segue. No, I think the last couple weeks has just been me fighting against life. Hey, speaking about fighting against life.
Oh, yes.
How's that segue? How does that do you?
Not great, but I'll live.
Ugh. So this time we decided to watch Megalobox 2, NoMad.
NoMad. For this week for the show, we decided to watch a Western instead of another show.
Is it a Western though?
The first half is 100% a Western.
Yes.
Replace boxing with guns, it's a Western.
Yeah, I guess he's kind of John Wayne in that.
Yeah, like it's 100% a Western. Like there's just no two ways about it. The first arc of this season is just a Western. And that's not bad. I really liked it. But it's Western.
So what's the elevator pitch for season 2 of the old Megalobox? Spoilers for season 1.
What? I see what happened next.
So at the end of season 1, our boy Gearless Joe had won all the things and life was just peachy keen. And at the start of Megalobox 2, things are no longer peachy keen.
Hopeless man gets his hope back.
Ooh. How Stella got her groove back? Or how Joe got his gear back?
It kind of, yeah, he kind of did, didn't he?
I liked it. I thought it was good.
It's a more mature show than the first season, for sure.
The first season was very focused on the boxing as, your typical sports anime. He's going to climb the rungs, overcome adversity, and of course he's going to win all the things.
Yeah.
This one, everything has been taken away from him, mostly by his own design.
I was about to say, it can't be really taken away from it if he kind of pissed it all away.
It's a little bit of both. Mostly he pissed it away.
Yep.
And then he has to decide to take it back and then try to take it back.
Yeah.
But I thought it was well done. I ended up giving it an 8 because this is no longer focusing on the boxing. The boxing is more a means to an end in this one for character development rather than the point.
Than the show? Yeah. No, I would agree.
Which is especially reflected in the last arc.
It's very different from the first season. It doesn't necessarily mean it's bad, but it's quite a bit different. It's more character driven, less action driven, and it's a lot more mature.
It was a very interesting choice to actually grow all those characters by 5 years.
Yeah.
Most shows, they look older, but they're essentially the same character, and we're just taking it on faith that, sure, it's 5 years later and they're older now. These feel like whole new characters, kind of.
Things happened while we were away, and they are different humans now because it's been a long time, and the kids grew up.
So you got shades of what they were like, but I mean, in the last season, they were 8 to 10 years old.
Yep, and now they're all 16, old enough to get a real job, Dad.
And drive a truck.
Drive a truck.
Mm-hmm.
Drive trucks. Have real jobs. Have their own keys and credit cards.
Is fighting in an underground boxing ring a job?
Yeah, it's a job. Not a very good one, but it's a job. Somebody's got to do it.
So would you recommend people that liked the first season to continue to watch this season if they haven't already?
It depends why you liked the first season. If you liked it for the good boxing action, you probably won't like this season. If you want more character development from these characters that it's good for that. If you want to see how everybody has a wonderful, good fun time after the events of season 1, don't watch this. People don't have a wonderful, good fun time. They have a bad time, in fact.
Most people are sad.
Yeah.
Or angry, or both.
Ultimately, it's a hopeful show, because it really is. It's a season about hope. So that's kind of cool and interesting.
Well, you want to get into old spoiler land? We can talk about all the things that go down.
We can do spoiler things.
So the bold choice here, well, it wasn't really a bold choice. It was the impetus for the whole season is Nanbu died of cancer. Cancer sucks.
Yeah, he did.
Everything falls apart. So Joe thinks it's his fault, kind of, because he decided to do a fight to help keep the group together.
Sort of, kind of, not quite really, but sort of. It's complicated. He had complicated feelings. He kind of ran away from his problems into the boxing ring, and it didn't work out super well.
Sachio, the main kid that was ringside all of first season, he pushes him away and basically tells him, get out of here and never come back. So he does. Instead of being a mature adult and being like, wait, I'm not going to let an 8-year-old kid dictate my relationship to said 8-year-old kid. I am the adult here. He's like, yeah, okay. I mean, he's emotionally stunted himself. His whole life has revolved around, I'm going to punch and be punched. He's already realized his dream. He got to punch the big guy at the end.
He got to punch the punchiest of men.
His motivations are revealed bit by bit. At first, the show's like, hey, so Joe is trying to fight in this last fight against Yuri's protege to reclaim the title of punchiest man, just to have the money to try a new experimental treatment for Nanbu.
Yep. In theory.
In theory. Then it's revealed that Joe and Nanbu had actually kind of agreed that he should take this on, even though more of a change of heart on Nanbu's part. So then you're like, well, okay, well, I guess they were in on it together. They were trying to do something. That something is then revealed to be Joe's trying to keep the group together and give them hope after Nanbu passes. But then he botches it all up and
he kind of,
misses Nanbu actually dying.
He didn't go into the ring in the right state of mind, right?
He loses.
Does lose.
And then when he goes to the funeral, he doesn't tell anybody anything about what happened or why it happened. He didn't even consult the kids and all who he was responsible for. Should I get into the ring again?
Yep.
He just did it himself. Sachio tells him to take a hike.
Yeah, f off, old man. You're not my real dad.
Do any of them have real dads?
I'm sure they do.
Are they still alive?
Probably not.
There was that war and stuff. But yeah, that's what happened before this show starts.
Here's one of the things that I do want to know.
Yeah.
How is this translated from the original manga to this? Is this completely original? Is this loosely inspired by true events in Ashita no Joe?
No.
Or what?
So the first season was a tribute to Ashita no Joe.
Yeah.
And the director actually said he didn't see a point to a second season because they'd be retreading the same kind of material. So when he was approached for a second season, they decided, let's make this more its own property. So they went in this character-driven direction. And at this point, it bears no resemblance to any of the Ashita no Joe source material.
Okay, that makes sense too, because it's just like how like one of the second major plot of this season features around Mac, and it's just like I'm not quite sure where they're gonna get that from. How did we get from point A to point B for this? And it's okay, they didn't, and that's perfectly fine and legitimate. I like that. I'm glad that this is its own thing.
It is its own thing. See, so there's two main arcs. Or was there a third one?
Yeah.
I guess there's a third one mixed in with the second one.
Yeah, there's kind of a bridge, right? So there's first arc, bridge, second arc.
What would you say the bridge is? Because I saw it as you had your Western where he spends that time in Casa. Then the rest of the season is him trying to rebuild his life at quote unquote home.
Yeah.
It starts out with, hey, he's coming back and everybody still hates him and he's just going to have to live with that. He doesn't try to change anyone's mind other than he's just going to be, and people can come around if they want. And then there's the Mac stuff.
Yeah.
But those two overlap a lot.
Yeah, they do. That's why I say it's kind of more of a bridge into the Mac stuff.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about Casa first.
Yeah.
I liked Chief. Chief was a cool guy.
Chief's a really good character. I like him a lot. He's good. He's complex. He is Joe. By the end, Joe is Chief.
Yes. And you know that's where this is headed.
Yeah.
Because Chief had a similar experience when he lost his own son.
Yep.
So someone very close to him.
And his whole life fell apart.
Yeah. He takes on the mantle of Joe's mentor for a bit. Turns him around, gets him off the drugs, which he needed to be off the drugs. I liked that they even brought that up.
Yep.
They actually brought up a lot of stuff about boxing that I don't think Ashita Joe, if they had stuck to it, would have ever brought up. Like,
which is
drug addiction, alcoholism.
Yeah.
There was some of that in the first season. Brain damage.
Yeah. The fact that Chief dies because he got hit in the head too many times and had a brain hemorrhage, likely.
Probably. So he dies from a punch.
Well, because the guy cheated. Bastard.
He did. But he dies. Matt gets all screwed up. Liu gets paralyzed. And Joe gets something. Something's wrong with his brain.
Yeah.
That plot doesn't really go anywhere.
Well, he's got repetitive. I mean, it does, right? Because that's the whole... spoilers. The end of the show, Joe actually loses.
Technically.
His final bout.
It's TKO.
But again, that's why he is... That's the growth moment, right? Sachiko throws in the towel for Joe because he doesn't want Joe to actually die
like Chief
did because he's got, long-term brain injuries from boxing his whole life. Whereas Joe would absolutely have fought forever and loved it, but
he super would have. Absolutely.
Sachio was smart enough to be like, wait, nope, this is actually bad, so let's stop this.
Anyway, jumping back to Casa, Chief dies. And there's this whole thing about the town is being threatened by the rich landowner guy. The black hat dude is totally Western.
What's weird, Megalobox still takes place in Japan.
Yes, it does.
People have Japanese names.
Mm-hmm.
And these immigrants are
Argentinian-ish.
Yeah, they're from Latin America for sure. And that's okay. I have no problems with that. They say they got there by boat and everything. It's like, yeah, no, this is all perfectly legitimate. Except that Joe is seen driving through the desert. Okay, sure, there's been war and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But there's cactuses. Cactuses are in one place on the planet. Brother oh mine, do you know we're the only place in the world where cactuses are?
Northern Japan.
Definitely not. They're only in the Southwest United States.
You can't tell me
probably northern Mexico, but they are not part of deserts.
During all this war and stuff, that the climate didn't change because it's in the future.
Okay.
And these you can't tell me that not one immigrant thought, I'm going to bring me a cactus.
I'm going to bring me a cactus. Okay,
because I doubt there were customs checking for cactus when they just
cactuses take a long time to grow.
It's been a
lot of big cactuses.
It has been a while. When does this show take place? I'm gonna go look.
I don't know. 20XD6.
Late 21st century. So that would be 50 years from now.
Yeah. So
if you go read Reddit on climate change, we will absolutely have cacti in Hokkaido by next year. 100% certainty.
Okay. Here we go. So.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. For that type of cactus to grow 6 feet tall takes 70 years.
Well, if they start now, 2021, they can have it in late 21st century Japan. I was right. Cactuses, take them over there now. We'll have, plus they could be mutant cactuses.
They could be mutant cactuses.
There was war somewhere, sometime. You don't know. Yeah. Science.
Yeah, all right. Okay.
You're telling me that in a show where people use machines that allow them to punch people in the face harder than they ever could have, and yet everyone typically survives, the thing you're concerned about is there's a cactus.
Yes.
Just takes you out of the whole thing. The immersion is broken.
Yeah, no, it is.
Okay.
Look, there's things... Again, with all these things, there's the suspension of disbelief you expect to experience, and then there are the things that are the suspension of disbelief you are not asked to make. I am asked to make the suspension of disbelief that people have minor exosuits to let them punch each other, and that boxing is actually shockingly popular again after not being popular for 1,000 billion years. Mm-hmm. Those are those are buy-ins. I have to buy into that to enjoy the show. I'm not expected to buy into just wrong biome nonsense. It'd be like if they went to the northern Hokkaido and there's just penguins hanging out for no reason.
Are you saying there aren't penguins in Hokkaido?
There are not penguins in Hokkaido unless they are in a zoo.
They could have escaped the zoo.
They did not escape the zoo.
You don't know
There's
that.
not 12 monkeys.
You
nonsense.
don't know that for certain.
Yeah, no, sorry. No,
Forest penguins. Anyway.
Cactuses are wrong. No cacti.
Back to Casa. Actually, the thing I didn't like about that arc was they tried to do a lot of different subplots all at once.
I wish it had been a little longer and there had been a little more character development from the characters in Casa.
Yes, or they could have gotten rid of the boy. Because the boy didn't really add much to the story.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I see that.
Now, they could keep him, but something else would have happened. It, like you said, it could have been longer, so we get to know the boy and why, what's his name, Mio? Why he's so angry at everything. His whole inner conflict of, I want to be accepted by some community of my peers, but if that means destroying my own house, literally and figuratively, maybe that makes me a bad person, blah, blah, blah. That's all like resolved in an episode. Maybe it'd be cooler if Joe, I thought Joe and Mio's mom were going to like be a thing, and maybe that would be part of his redemption arc, because then he has to care for a son or something. Who knows? Maybe that's season 3. But in this season, there was Joe coming to a realization with Mentor with Chief. You got the whole, the town is going to be taken over by the railroad. You got
more or less
the shootout / boxing tournament. You got Mio doing stuff. That's 4 things. And you got like
4 episodes.
4 episodes to cover all those plot arcs.
Yeah, it really should have been 6. 4 was a little too fast.
They just really wanted to do all those things, but also get Joe out of there as fast as possible so he could go do the Sachio stuff.
They wanted to also make a Western, but they didn't quite have enough time, which is a bit of a bummer.
Yeah. So he gets out of there. He goes back to not Tokyo.
It's Tokyo.
Everything has been washed away during a typhoon.
Yes.
Big old typhoon. Speaking of the typhoon, I didn't like the typhoon. The second one.
No. Yeah, no.
So they build up that the old gym had been washed away by a giant typhoon, and it was monstrous, and the only reason no one died from the Team Nowhere gym where they all lived is because one of the girls comes back and warns everyone last minute, and they all get out of there. It's like a big harrowing thing. It's supposed to be this, we were all in danger of dying, but we were saved at the last moment. And then the show very sneakily starts hinting at, hey, there's another typhoon coming. Like at first it's in the background on newscasts, and then it's like people start talking about there's another one coming. And then it gets here, and it's on screen for like 3 minutes, and the most character development we get out of it is...
It just leads them to... The gang gets back together to hold down some tarps. And you're like,
they're holding down tarps, and the girl who's been mad at Joe for a while drives up and holds a rope. Typhoon over.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the end of the second arc, right? Because that's when the kids kind of buy into Joe again, but it's still a little weak.
I mean, it was doing fine without this imminent threat of this typhoon coming.
Yeah.
I just think that was unnecessary.
I think they wanted a ticking clock, and they put in a ticking clock, even though it wasn't really...
It didn't feel like a ticking clock, but yeah, it is one now that you mention it.
Because they wanted some sort of climax for that. But that's the sort of story that doesn't need that form of a climax,
Mm-hmm. So Joe comes back. He tries to reconnect with each of the kids. He really just wants to go back to the gym and rebuild it. And he happens to run into the kids one after another.
Well, yes and no. Like, he cares about the kids, but he's at least smart enough at this point to not try and force it. And instead just be like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the gym back together because that's what I want to do. And hopefully I can reconnect with the kids. But if they don't want to, I will totally respect that and not be a jerk about it.
Mm-hmm. He doesn't want to be ungenuine. And he knows that, hey, if I go in there and like beg forgiveness or try to be like, why can't we just go back to the way it was? It's just going to push them further away. So I'm going to stay here. I'm going to rebuild the gym, and I hope they come back. But if they don't, whatever. I've made my choice. That the kids do come back. He does throw a match at one point.
Yep, he does. But to save a friend, which kind of shows I'm not. I think that shows growth on his part because especially when he like yells at Chief, because Chief at the beginning is throwing matches. He's like, "Don't you have like any pride in yourself?" And Chief is just like, "Look, I got to do what I got to do to feed my family and to save up money so I can buy this land so the railroad doesn't destroy it all." Mm-hmm. And then when he comes back, he's like, "Yeah, okay, like I'll do it for a good reason, not because like I'm being greedy or something like that. I have a good reason to do this thing."
Exactly. Like the beginning of season 1, he was throwing matches because that's how he earned money. Then his character development there was he defines principles, but then this season starts, he's holding on to them as like this rubric that cannot be changed for any reason, which is actually now a fault. And now he's learning that, you know, it's good to have those principles, but what are the principles actually like? What's the purpose of those? You're missing the point if you're just adhering to a rule. Yeah. Yeah, that's his first action in his redemption. He said a lot of stuff. Yeah. But this is his first, I'm going to do this and not tell you guys about it.
Yeah.
They just got to figure it out.
He's still not being communicative. He's kind of being bad still. Kind of a dummy.
And then we have Mac, the whole Mac arc. It includes definitely not Elon Musk.
Kind of.
You ever want to watch Elon Musk tap dance? Well, here you go.
I liked him as a villain. He was a very good villain.
He could have been a little more rounded, I think.
Yeah. The throwing in, it's like, yeah, but I'm going to use this for the military was a little like, I mean, you don't need that to make him a bad guy. You can just have him be a bad guy because he's being an unethical idiot. You don't have to kind of like pour it on, you know? I felt like that kind of poured it on.
Yeah, the military thing was, I don't know where that came from, because he already had a good motivation. The motivation was, I'm going to save countless lives here. So what if I screw up this one guy's life and falsify some data? Yeah. Not everybody wants to be a boxer, so it'll save all these lives. Hooray. Yeah. And then he's like, I think, a much more believable villain because
I think so too.
He's doing the right thing, but he's going about it the wrong way.
I mean, he's a villain because he's an ends justify the means types of guy, and that works on its own. You don't need to and also I'm going to sell my tech to the military because in Japan the military is like always the bad guy, and it's like, yeah, I mean that's fine, but it's tacked on in this character. It worked with what's her name from the first season,
Yukiko.
It worked for her because it was like her whole thing, right? Like, I am developing this for this reason.
Right. That's what the Gears 4 military.
It's just kind of thrown in with this villain.
No, I hear you on that. Mac himself. So Mac's got he has an arc before he's actually introduced.
Yeah, he gets like 2 arcs.
One's just exposition, though.
Yeah.
So apparently he was like around in the first season somewhere. He's like a super low ranking boxing guy. He frequently cheated.
He was pretty okay at boxing, but he would lose his cool and then go ape on people and then lose.
Yeah. And so he quits that and goes and becomes a cop for a while. He saves some kids in a burning building that's also... It also has a gang shootout
inside, which is a little over the top, but this is like a cyberpunk dystopia, so you're like, yeah, all right.
He saves some kids, and after he saves the last one, he gets shot in the neck. So he's paralyzed. And then Elon Musk approaches his wife and is like, hey,
how about shady deals?
You want me to put a brain implant in your husband? Maybe he can, like, walk again.
Yeah.
And she agrees.
She agrees because the dude's a shady asshole and is like, look, I know your son needs super special heart surgery, and I know your husband may recover on his own anyway if he works really, really hard, but how about I fix your son's heart and do experiments on your husband? And she's like, I like keeping people alive, so okay, even though you're being a shady asshole.
Yes.
And there's this whole arc, and Mac learns about it, and Mac's really cool. He's like, yeah, no, I mean, that's still the right decision, even though the moral problem was what he did, not with what you did.
Right. Elon Musk. What was his name? Doesn't matter.
I don't remember. I'm bad with characters.
Sakuma.
Yeah.
Sakuma, who's Elon Musk. I forgot my train of thought there.
All right, that was his name. That's all that really matters.
Well,
Sakuma's
that's
Dink.
what Wikipedia says too, because if you look at the Wikipedia page for each of the characters, you have Mac Rosario, an Argentinian boxer sponsored by the technology company Roscoe. Sakuma, voiced by this guy. And then we move on to Chief.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
But no, he convinces other people that it's their problem or tries to push the problems down. So he does that to Mac and Mac's wife. He does that to Yukiko because they've got a business relationship. He does that to his personal assistant, getting her to falsify all this data for him.
He just kind of guilt trips everybody by just kind of using the same lines like, why do you want to take away a hope for the future? Do you want to take away a hopeful future? Because that's what you're taking away.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you want to do? Is that what you want to be seen doing?
I mean, yes, you are doing a crime, but what if it makes everything good?
But this is making the future better.
It's not a crime if it makes everything good, right?
Yeah, if it makes people.
Plus, I have all this money. Screw the rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically how it works.
But then he gets found out. I liked the resolution of the whole medical device.
It was a good comeuppance. He had a good comeuppance.
He gets arrested. Yukiko gets him to give her company all the licenses for this implant, and then she open sources it.
Because she's like, look, we did it bad. I didn't know it was falsified, but I should have done a better job checking the data to see if it was falsified. So that this doesn't happen again, we're just going to open source it so the entire world can work on this brain chip.
Because it's not like it didn't work. It clearly does work. It's just got some problems.
It just has some bugs that make people revert into cavemen if they get aggressive. So watch out for that.
Then she steps down as president, which I didn't see coming. I thought that was cool.
No, that's good. I like that.
Then she may have taken over the orphanage. Possibly,
maybe I don't know. Maybe she's gonna kiss Joe. I mean that's what happens in she is a stand-in for a character in Ashita Joe who does kind of end up in a romantic thing with Joe at some point. So
that would be odd.
Maybe they kiss a little. Some kisses.
Maybe.
They could hold hands.
So I liked Mac and his wife's arc. I thought that was much more complex than the mom and son thing from the first arc.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
One thing I never quite understood, and they alluded to it several times, was that children's book with a hummingbird in it.
Yeah, well,
I get why it's there because it's thematic.
It's a very obvious. It's a very obvious allegory for Joe's journey.
Yes,
but also, it's a little ham-fisted. Not gonna lie. I like the hummingbird imagery throughout the entire show for sure.
Yeah,
I think it really helped ties it together, and I kind of like this children book from Joe's homeland too, maybe because we know he's not from here. And it's heavily suggests that he is also of Latin descent, but it's complicated.
He's from somewhere.
I like that, but it was a little ham-fisted, and the allegory of the story was a little on the nose. So
it was super on the nose. It was explicitly find your way home.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which would have been much more impactful if Joe and Mac had not already done that. The episode before. It could have been better. I also did not, and maybe it's just the translation I watched, the book did not seem like it was written for a child. It was ham-fisted, but it didn't read like a children's book. What would have been cool, though, is if it showed the illustrations from the book. We got a bit of that there at the end. We had some more of that.
A little bit more of that would be nice. Yeah, I agree.
Anyways, a good show. I liked it.
Yeah, no, I liked it a lot.
I'm glad
really
I watched
solid.
it.
It was good. It was very thought-provoking. A very mature story. It was really solid.
It is an interesting take on how men deal with problems.
Yeah.
Because, what was her name? Maya? It's Marla, maybe. I don't know. Whatever. Mac's wife.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah.
Mac's wife has problems, but her solutions seem to be cry about it for a bit. You got Yukiko, who deals with things shrewdly, but those are really the only two women around.
Yeah.
That have problems.
Doesn't have great female characters, but
then you have all these dudes, and they deal with their internal problems in slightly different ways, but there's definitely a masculine take on dealing with interpersonal problems and also personal demons. Which You don't get a lot of that. There's not a lot of seinens like that. So it's nice. What do you think will be season 3? And do you think there will be season 3?
I doubt there will be a season 3. There doesn't need to be one, unless it's just unless it starts following another character with Joe taking on the same sort of role he did in the first half of this, which is as a mentor figure.
Mm-hmm.
If they turn Joe into JoJo and just make it like a legacy thing.
Oh, you suggesting that like he boxes some pillarmen or something?
I mean, that would be cool.
Instead
Generally,
of using
like,
gears,
wrestle.
he has a stand. Is that what we're going for?
I mean, I'd be fine with that.
His boxing gloves are his stand.
Yeah.
Who would be Dio? Obviously, it'd be Yuri. He looks exactly like Dio.
Yeah, that's true.
Actually, you know who Yuri looks like a lot? Akagi from Akagi.
Yeah, he looks a lot like Akagi. You're not wrong.
It's kind of weird. Anyway,
Just the way of things.
What do you want to watch for next time?
I want to watch the new Ava movies, but you don't like them
I don't
because
like them.
you're a bad man.
How dare
So
you.
we're going to watch To Your Eternity, I guess, because we got to take some time off because PAX.
Labor Day, etc.
Today Day is to Labor Day.
Indeed. Okay, we'll watch that. It'll be super sad.
So I hear. I have heard that it makes you be a cry weepy boy.
I've only watched 5 episodes, and yeah. It's
And how many times did you weep in those episodes?
Weep 0. How often did the fan just spread dust like just everywhere?
Yeah,
Couple
just,
times.
Just close to your eyes, just real close.
I know my wife reached for the Kleenex box at least twice.
Oh, that's fair.
So it's gonna
There you
be fun.
It'll be a trip.
I highly recommend watching it in big chunks instead of one episode at a time. Because she'll just stop.
That's what I'm gonna do.
All right, we'll see you then.
All right, bye forever.